Anger, fear, and sadness are hard emotions to deal with. But what if your difficult emotions were stepping stones on the path to a happier life? What if they were the gateway to your liberation from suffering? Welcome to Mindfulness for Beginners. Hello my friend, hope you're happy, hope you're peaceful. It's your old pal Sean, and if you're enjoying the podcast, then I would invite you to become a supporter of the show on Patreon. The link is in the description. There's lots of exclusive content there. Please do check it out. And before we begin, if you have a fear of dogs, you might choose to skip to the guided meditation today. There's nothing too bad in today's episode, but I know it's a common fear. I was out for a walk today, taking it easy after my previous close encounter with a cobbled pathway. On the path next to the canal, I saw a middle-aged man with two dogs off the leash. They looked like a golden retriever and a Labrador. The golden retriever started coming towards me, curious but looking unsure. I say looking unsure. I don't know how well you can read a dog's intent from its face, but that's how it seemed to me. I don't have a fear of dogs, so I put my hand towards it, not to pet it, but to allow it to smell my hand if it wanted to, the universal way to let a dog know that you're a cool guy. And I am a pretty cool guy, I like to think. I don't have a daunting physical presence, and dogs are generally fine with me. This one wasn't. Goldie lunged forward and barked loudly. "Whoa," I said, pulling my hand back, as anyone who likes having a hand would do in the same situation. The dog owner came over laughing. "That's very naughty of you," he said to the dog, who understands English apparently. "You say sorry to the man." The dog refused to apologise, letting down all of dog kind. His Labrador brother looked rightly embarrassed. "You get put on a leash for that," and a leash of shame was attached to Goldie's collar. The man said to me that he was fine now, suggesting that I could pet him. I was still slightly in shock. I kind of laughed at the situation and politely declined, waving goodbye and going on my way. Once I'd got over the experience, I started to feel some anger. I felt anger towards the man for not having his dog on a leash, if it acted aggressively towards strangers. Lots of people are afraid of dogs and would find that situation a lot more upsetting than I did. I imagine telling him off for not being more considerate of others, for not apologising, for not taking the situation more seriously. I decided to stop, take a few breaths, and look deeply into what I was feeling. I was feeling angry with the man, but I was actually feeling more angry at myself. I felt angry for not saying anything to him, for not telling him off in the moment, because I laughed off the situation, but most of all for letting him off the hook. I was really curious to notice this feeling, especially as I hadn't felt it for many years. When I was young, I got bullied a lot in school, and I dealt with it by being passive. A lot of people would say to me, "Why don't you fight back?" And because of this, I resented myself for not fighting back against him, and people who pushed me around whenever I became a young adult. When I got to my mid-20s, I got tired of resenting myself for not responding and swung from being passive to pushing the nuclear button when I felt that people were taking advantage of me, or taking the piss, as we say in Ireland. Of course, what that meant was that sometimes I reacted when there was no threat, or overreacted to something minor. In my early 30s, I started practicing mindfulness and experimented with the balance of not being passive, but also not immediately reacting. I learned to talk to people calmly about what it was I was feeling about the situation by stopping and looking deeply. The seeds of anger still exist within me, as they do within everyone, but they don't lead my behaviour anything like as much as they used to. If you're interested in learning more on this, Thich Nhat Hanh's book Anger is a great start. But what I realised today, by looking deeply into my anger, was that I still had that resentment towards myself for not standing up in the moment and all those years ago. I realised that I was just a child, and being passive was how I learned to get by in the different environments I grew up in. I could say that it's okay to let go. I didn't need to feel resentment towards myself. I could choose to feel self-compassion instead of being angry if someone wrongs me and if I don't call them out on it. While it's good to have boundaries, I don't need to react to every breach of those boundaries. I don't need to beat myself up for not doing something about it. I realise that this is quite a long story and almost certainly going to be the longest podcast episode of all time. But the point is that it's easy to run when we feel anger, fear, or sadness. And that's what I use TV and food for. Today I could have got lost in thought, got swept away by all the things I would tell the man with the dogs if I ever saw him again. And I did start to do that. But we miss an opportunity when we distract with consumption or get swept away in thought. The opportunity to look deeply into our emotions and gain insight into our suffering. That insight can liberate us from the traumas of the past and put us on a path of happiness. I've carried a grudge from when I was young and been able to gradually let it go over the years. But the power of mindful awareness helped me to understand that the biggest grudge that I carried was against myself. Realizing, acknowledging, and letting go of that today was incredibly powerful and freeing. And I've had so many of these insights through the practice, and I want the same for you. So how do we use the practice of mindfulness to gain insight into our emotions and liberate ourselves from suffering? It starts with consistent daily practice. By regularly engaging in mindfulness exercises, we can train our minds to become more aware and present. And this heightened awareness allows us to recognize when an emotion arises within us. When a strong emotion emerges, we can bring our attention to the breath. Focusing on the breath provides stability and resilience, allowing us to sit with the intensity of the emotion without being overwhelmed. As we anchor ourselves in the breath, we create a space for exploration. And in this space, we can gently inquire into the emotion, following the golden thread, tracing the experience back to its roots. We can ask ourselves, what is the deeper cause of this emotion? Is there something from my past that's contributing to this reaction? As we follow this golden thread, we can uncover insights that reveal patterns or unresolved issues from our past. It could be childhood experiences, past traumas, ingrained beliefs that shape our emotional responses. Writing down these insights can be helpful as it allows us to reflect and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. By using mindfulness to gain insight, we come to realize that our emotions are not isolated incidents, but part of a wider tapestry of experiences. The more that we investigate and understand our emotions, the more we free ourselves from their grip. We begin to see the possibilities for liberation from suffering in other parts of our lives as well. And through the practice of mindfulness, we discover that we have the power to respond to emotions with wisdom and compassion. We learn to hold them with gentleness and understanding rather than being overwhelmed or reactive. This newfound insight and skill in navigating our emotions become tools for transformation and growth. So let's build our mindfulness practice together as a Sangha now with a guided meditation on the breath. I'm going to start with 3 sounds of the bell and our usual settling in introduction. And we're going to start, as we always do, by applying our beginner's mind to our posture. And I would invite you to imagine that you have a thread attached to the crown of your head, and it's gently pulling you upwards into an upright position, your spine like a stack of coins, your heart raised upwards and outwards, your hands comfortably in your lap. Just allowing a gentle smile to emerge in your face as we enjoy the stability of our posture. And then expanding that spotlight of awareness to your entire body, noticing where you feel warm or cold, noticing where you feel tense or relaxed. Becoming aware of the sensation of the clothes against your skin and the points of contact between your body and the chair and the floor. Shifting that awareness to your thoughts and feelings. And as we go through the guided meditation, just noticing each thought as it arises, and that might be an anxious thought about tomorrow, it could be a happy thought about today, or an angry thought about yesterday. Just sitting with each thought for a moment, allowing it to leave, and gently and without judgment, bringing your attention back to your breath. And finally, focusing your awareness on the breath, noticing that column of air between your nose and your diaphragm. Noticing how the air feels cooler on the way in, warmer on the way out. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In, out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slow. Deep, slow. Breathing in, I notice my shoulders rise. Breathing out, I notice my stomach fall. Shoulders rise, stomach fall. Breathing in, I notice the coolness of my in-breath. Breathing out, I notice the warmth of my out-breath. Coolness of in-breath, warmth of out-breath. Breathing in, I notice the sound of my in-breath. Breathing out, I notice the sound of my out-breath. Sound of in-breath, sound of out-breath. Breathing in, I follow the full length of my in-breath. Breathing out, I follow the full length of my out-breath. Full length of in-breath, full length of out-breath. Breathing in, I establish myself in the present moment. Breathing out, I realize it is a wonderful moment. Present moment, wonderful moment. And as we reach the end of the guided meditation, just noticing any changes in your body, any areas of relaxation, any areas of tension that have built up, and maybe choosing to stretch those if you need to, just giving the body what it needs. noticing any changes in your mind. If you feel a sense of calm or peace, then I would invite you to carry that through the rest of your day and use that peace to look deeply into your difficult emotions when they arise. And finally, opening your eyes and returning your awareness to the room that you're in. And just before we finish, if you're enjoying the podcast, then please do share it with other people. If you know someone who would benefit from today's episode, why not send them an email with a link and a recommendation? That would mean a lot to me. You can rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And that would also massively help to spread the word. So thank you for all of you who are doing that, because I know you are. And just before we finish, starting to consciously count our breaths together as a sangha of thousands. Breathing in, breathing out 1. Breathing in, breathing out 2. And just seeing how far you get. And may be happy. May be peaceful. And may you see yourself through the eyes of understanding and compassion. Slán Bhuile, and I'll see you next time.